And welcome back. We're talking this week about how Israel is fulfilling its biblical destiny as a light unto the nations. Well, I can't think of an organization that better symbolizes that than Leket Israel. Now, you may remember the story of gleaning in the book of Ruth. Well, today, Leket Israel is kind of involved in a modern day gleaning. They are Israel's largest food bank, and they're distributing leftover food that would normally be thrown in the wastebasket to the poor throughout the land of Israel. This is an amazing organization, folks, and we spent time with them recently at their headquarters in Ra'anana. Take a look.
Leket is based on ancient precepts in the Bible. There were a couple of commandments known as Leket, Shikha, Upeya. All three commandments which told us exactly how farmers, the businessmen of ancient times, needed to treat the poor. So if you remember, for example, the law that said if something falls off the back of your wagon, the farmer couldn't take it, he needed to leave it for the poor. Or the law that said you needed to leave a portion of your fields for the poor to collect. And what I've always loved about that law specifically is that it said the land needs to be accessible and close to those who were poor. It couldn't be in the middle of nowhere. So in ancient times, people weren't getting around on cars or in Ubers, and they had to have it close by so that they could pick in those fields and feed themselves. We at Leket have taken this and made it into a modern adaptation. And that is, in today's world, we live in a totally different manner than those did in ancient times. We actually live in abundance, like it promises in the Bible, Eretz Zavat Chalav Udvash, the land of milk and honey. And we're living that today in the modern state of Israel. We have loads and loads of abundant foods, beautiful fruits and vegetables, beautiful food in hotels, in restaurants. And yet at the same time, sadly, we also have those in need. And so what Leket has done in a, I think, clever manner, like many other organizations throughout the world, we find logistical solutions to getting that food from those who have it and are not going to utilize it and bring it to organizations who are feeding the poor. We are therefore able to help Holocaust survivors, children in need, battered women, all types of the saddest stories, unfortunately, even here in the Holy Land. So Leket's work is based on the biblical commandment in Leviticus 19, where it says, "Nor shall you glean your fields, rather you shall leave it for the poor and the stranger in your midst." That is what the Lord has commanded us. And that's what Leket bases everything it does on that. I moved here in September 2000, and for those who remember their history, very difficult time in Israel. We just started the new Intifada, and at the same time, with that Intifada came a lot of suffering for the Israeli people. I was living here with my family, my wife, one child, now wife and 5 children, and we noticed a lot of people coming to our door asking for help. Now I knew, as all of us know who are fortunate to live in the West, that we waste food with abandon. So I started to travel around the country, meeting soup kitchens, meeting homeless shelters, meeting after-school clubs for kids, and asking them, what was it that they didn't have? What was it that they were struggling with? And to a T, almost all of them said to me, "We are not getting donations of food." And I said to myself, wait, I lived in America. There were so many food banks, so many organizations working with farmers, working with food producers, working with caterers to make sure that food was collected and fed to the poor. How could it be that in Israel, which has so many wonderful nonprofit organizations, that this little piece could be missing? But that's what it was. And so I jumped in and I started to call caterers, and I started to pick up leftover food from weddings and then the army. And then today you see, what's behind you today, this very large organization feeding nearly 200,000 Israelis on a weekly basis.
Coming up, more on how Israel's National Food Bank is a light unto the nations, plus what you can do to help fulfill this biblical mandate. That's next, right here on The Watchman.
So Leket recruits volunteers from throughout the country to come to this distribution center and help us repack what's in these large crates into smaller crates. And the reason we need that done is because most of the agencies that we bring food to can't handle this much. It's too much for them. They may only have 50, 60, 100 clients. So if we bring them too much, in the end, they and us together will be wasting as well. So what the volunteers down here are doing is they're repacking the fruits and vegetables into smaller crates. And you really get to see the variety here. Sweet potatoes, carrots, clementines, oranges. One of the things I want to show you actually is a little different than some of the other stuff we saw. These cauliflowers are actually grade A+. They're actually grown specifically for Lekets from donations that we get, and they are being distributed to the poor. Beautiful. You can't even buy cauliflowers this nice in the store. So what you're seeing on this line is also special crops, some of which we've grown ourselves. I mean, look at this. Look at the size of this, okay? It's a beauty. We haven't washed it off yet, but it's a beautiful beet. And what happens is, everything you see here, the crops come into the big crates, they're put on there, and now he's about to dump it over. After everything's ready, our truck drivers are going to collect this. It's going to be put into special areas where it's loaded for delivery either later today or tomorrow to our NGO partners. Okay, and that's going to be labeled for them. And every day our trucks are going to Jerusalem, they're going to Tel Aviv, they're going north, they're going south in order to bring this beautiful stuff to those who need it. So Leket has two core projects. First off, the work we do with farmers. So farming is an interesting business. I would say many people say the restaurant business is a tough one. Farming is also very, very tough in many ways. A farmer doesn't know what kind of price they're going to get, even after all their hard work. And sometimes it doesn't make sense for them to pick the crops. They're acts of God. There's ugly fruits and vegetables, as we call them. For example, right over here. This is a pomelo, something we love in Israel. There's nothing wrong with this pomelo, but I think everyone will agree who's watching this, that this pomelo looks a bit funny. And because of that, it will never make it to the marketplace. So Leket works with the farming community to make sure that these perfectly good crops that are just funny looking, and because of the food culture we've grown up with, will never make it to the marketplace. Right? I asked all you guys, what's wrong with this? And all of you say the same answer, nothing's wrong with it. But you will never have the opportunity to purchase it because it doesn't fit into the standards that we've come to expect. So Leket takes advantage of these sorts of situations and takes this perfectly healthy, safe, and delicious fruit and brings it to people in need. That's one thing that we do. And we invite anyone coming to visit Israel who's watching this. We had over 60,000 volunteers in the fields last year helping us gather these fruits and vegetables. We get volunteers who are coming from all over the world and from Israel, corporations, people are here for their bar mitzvahs, their coming of age ceremony. We get lots of Christian groups coming from the States, from Canada, from Europe, all working in unison to make sure that something that God has blessed us with doesn't go to waste. And of course, if we hearken back to our biblical studies, we do have the concept in the Bible of Bal Tashchit, not wasting, which is a very powerful and often forgotten biblical precept, I would say, in our modern times where we are just experts at wasting. And I'm not just talking about food. We've become experts in that. So again, we're trying to bring back something that we all understood in different times when we struggled far greater to put food on our tables. One of the things I'm most proud of is seeing how our work shows Israel as a light unto the nations, not just locally, but throughout the world. Gathering this food, working with other charitable organizations throughout the world, showing them how we are at this point the largest gleaning organization anywhere. No one collects as much fruits and vegetables anywhere in the world as we do. I travel extensively speaking to groups throughout the world, showing them what we do here, they can bring to their own communities as well. And I think that shows what a great light unto the nations Leket is, and therefore, of course, the state of Israel and the people of Israel.